So it could not be a better time now to hit on my way too early top 24 wide receiver rankings, man. I got them in tiers 1, 2, and 3, but it's just the top 24 wide receivers, that the core guys that I just don't have much questions about. There is some questions, but I have really no worries with these top 24 guys. So let's get right into it. There should be no debate who the first wide receiver should be off the board and who is the number one overall. It is CD Lamb here, man. I think there should be no debate about it because the dude is in the same situation that he was in last year, where the target share is obviously going to be all his. This dude led the league in points per game, 23.72, led the league in targets as well. So, like I said, not much of that situation has changed. He was one of the three wide receivers that were actually able to average more than 100 yards per game. So, there should really be no debate here. And there should be no surprise here that I'm going to follow up with Tyreek Hill. This dude led the league in receiving yards per game, and he's also obviously the big playmaker we all know and love. So there shouldn't be much debate here as whatsoever either. So let's just start racking them up. Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, AJ Brown, and then I have Justin Jefferson here as my wide receiver 6. And now here's the reason why for Justin Jefferson. He is definitely different from, if you've been on my Twitter and you've been following along, where I have the bad QB play guys of last year, where they had Drake London, Terry McLaurin, guys like Garrett Wilson, DeAndre Hopkins, were all capped at 13 fantasy points per game. This is somewhat my worry for Justin Jefferson, but he is well beyond of those list of guys that I named that will be bottled down to 13 fantasy points per game if Sam Darnold or JJ McCarthy doesn't pan out to be the guy that we think they could be to elevate this offense and be able to get the ball to Justin Jefferson efficiently and the best ways possible in the end zone. So I really feel as though, Justin Jefferson comes in with that question, there at that quarterback position, but he's still a guy that I think can break that ceiling of 13 fantasy points per game of those guys that I named, in previous episodes and on my Twitter, if you guys want to check that out. Jamar Chase right here surprises some people, that the gap between Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson is between two players, but the gap usually isn't that large. It's usually they're back to back in rankings, but I can understand the worrisome about people with Joe Burrow's health, but it looks like he is on track from rehabbing that wrist injury. And I really feel as though, man, they're showing videos of him throwing the deep ball, showing great strength in the ball, able to grip the ball, no real restraints there for Joe Burrow. So I feel as though Jamar Chase should still be safe with Jamar Chase, and he doesn't bring on that many questions about himself or at the quarterback position, because we know the QB position is a top tier quarterback in Joe Burrow, and we know Jamar Chase is a target hog over there as well. So I think he earns his right as the wide receiver 3 here. So very quickly, let's jump to tier 2. That's how quickly it changes. Once we look at these first and second round wide receivers here, and some of these second round guys, they do bring a little bit of questions. And I really feel as though it all comes down ultimately to the quarterback play, which obviously is the head of the totem pole for any fantasy player to be productive. But right now, I got Brandon Ayuk right here. And I really feel as though Brandon Ayuk might be open up to even more opportunities if they end up trading Debo. I think Ricky Pearsall is a great route runner. They call him Pretty Ricky is for a reason. And I really think that he might have day one impact if they do end up trading Debo. But as of now, Debo is still a 49er. We'll find out after June 1st or whatever the case may be. But I think Brandon Ayuk, being the guy that he is, able to stretch the field, top 3 in yards per reception as well last year. And I think he just brings a lot to the table. So I don't see much change in my rankings from now into August, but again, who knows? Anything can happen. He can even move up into tier 1. I don't know. We want to get weird there, but we're not going to. So next up, I got Drake London found behind Brandon Ayuk. I think that the QB upgrade is very important here. I feel like obviously you have Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix as huge upgrades over a Desmond Ritter and a Taylor Heineke. You know what I mean? So he was always capped at. Also with Arthur Smith in this run first, heavy run first offense, where he was one of those guys that had a high target share last year, but was capped at less than 13 fantasy points per game. Dude almost had 1,000 yards last year. I really was pushing for him to go get it, but obviously bad quarterback play was in question. But now with the upgrade this year, I think Drake London gets that finally we get a breakout from him, that we all know that he possesses the talent to be a solid wide receiver one. So we're all pushing for Drake London and that Falcons offense this year. Following up, man, I think we constantly doubt this dude, man. Devontae Adams, a dude that's still averaging a high percentage target share. This dude led the league in 33% target share. So obviously, bad quarterback play, good quarterback play in between the middle. What we might be looking at this year with Aiden O'Connell and Garner Minshew, I think Devontae Adams is QB proof, man. He's one of those guys that will produce at a high level and still give you a great return. 15 fantasy points per game. That's really beyond expectations, what I actually thought was going to happen to him last year, but he still prevailed, still able to find the end zone, had over 100 catches. I mean, had 1,100 yards. I mean, you can't complain about a guy like Devontae Adams, who's slightly falling back in best ball drafts right now. Not quite sure, but once these camp videos get out and beat reporters get out and start, giving them good news that Garner Minshew looks good or Aiden O'Connell took a second year step, whatever the case may be. But now let's fill out this tier two. I don't want to break down every single player. I'll break down some, but boom, Michael Pittman, Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Mike Evans. Now, this is my tier two complete list. Tier three, you'll understand the thinking and process behind this, but man, Garrett Wilson, he falls a little bit. I'm not comfortable taking him in the back end of that first round. I know you're probably thinking early second round, back end of the first round. That's not much of a difference, but it kind of is to me. I feel as though I can just really get him in that early second round, so I could feel more confident taking somebody on this tier one list as my wide receiver one. More so, it'll probably be AJ Brown that I fall at that back end of the first round, or I've seen Amon-Ra St. Brown sneak past that 108. I just feel as though, I'd rather have guys like this and then in the early second round, try to get a Garrett Wilson there. That'll be my perfect, combination there. But obviously, my question here is at the quarterback position, QB play, with Aaron Rodgers. Is he fully healthy? Is the mobility going to be there for him? This isn't Aaron Rodgers, 10 years ago in Green Bay rolling out, extending plays and throwing bombs and stuff. This is a more seasoned age, quarterback here, returning back from a serious injury as well that we need to keep in mind. So there's my question marks around him, but this is where I got it ranked. Up here, you can argue all day by yourself with these three, I think, when we go to the rankings, but I feel okay if you want to, put Justin Jefferson up here where Amon Ra is at, or if you want AJ Brown here. Like, it doesn't really matter to me here, but you're going to be arguing at the wall. Like, this is it. This is what it is. But tier two, I really think that this I feel comfortable with in drafts just based on the upside here. Brandon Ayuk might get more opening, target share with, Debo Samuel out of the way, which might change the entire dynamic of the 49ers offense, which is fine. But I think this is pretty good here when you're looking at a Marvin Harrison Jr., when you're looking at a Mike Evans. You could flip flop these. You could flip flop here as well. But I just have my concerns about Garrett Wilson at the quarterback play. And Pittman's getting a potential top 5 fantasy quarterback in Anthony Richardson. I mean, he looked good recovering back, throwing in those practice videos. I mean, they're in t-shirts and shorts. I ain't trying to get too crazy with it, but I feel as though, the recovery is there. The little small sample we saw of Anthony Richardson to open up that offense, Michael Pittman looks like a guy that could really thrive in 17 games with Anthony Richardson. So this is my tier 2 list. Let's jump to tier 3. I got my guy. I'm not going to be biased. A lot of people have him going in the first 7 picks of a lot of redraft best ball leagues, but please, we need to humble ourselves. Hear me out of why I think Puka Nacua is more so a tier 3 wide receiver, a reliable wide receiver 2, and the aspect that we really didn't see many games where Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, and Puka Nacua are on the field healthy. I really feel like 11 games, that's a great number of games that they had together, but only 6 of those games they shared a target share of 20 plus percent, and then 8 games where they had both double digit points, where it ranged from 10 to 20 points, from a 13%, 13 points to about 16 points, where they met in the middle. So I look at these guys as more so wide receiver twos between Cooper Cup and Puka Nakua, where they need to be utilized, as a 1-2, I guess, on the outside, inside, or whatever the case may be of the offense. But week to week, they're going to have their up and downs where one guy's going to get a lot of attention. He's going to get all the fantasy points, all the red zone looks. That's just sometimes how the cookie crumbles, going against these defenses. So I think Puka Nakua there, I got Chris Olave, Debo Samuel, and then I got Cooper Cup, where I think that they should be close in the rankings. Stephon Diggs follows behind Cooper Cup. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a new dynamic to that Houston Texans offense. I mean, you look at Diggs, he's still Stephon Diggs. He's still a guy that's able to get separation and take over the game at any point. So honestly, I can see him taking a hit at the target share, obviously, with more mouths to feed, more playmakers as well, where he doesn't have to put the entire team on his back with Tank Dell and with Nico Collins, but I still think he will end up being the number one target in his offense and be able to produce efficiently where he can average a 14 to 15 fantasy points per game at the end of December. So I feel like, this is what we're not the end of December, at the end of the season, but the fantasy playoffs where it matters, etc. But anyway, this is where I got it. I mean, obviously with Debo, the question here is he going to be traded? Are they going to move on? And my biggest fear here is that he could actually move down in rankings. If he goes somewhere where it's boring, let's say Tennessee or New England, I'm just naming names right now of teams where I don't really feel comfortable with a Debo Samuel with his skill set and their system. I don't know if they're going to deploy him as effective and as explosive as Kyle Shanahan has done with Debo Samuel over the years. So that's my biggest concern there. So now to finish up the tier 3 guys, these guys are Mr. Consistent. These guys you can always get as wide receiver twos, and I'll be very, very happy getting them. And it's Waddle, Smith, and Cooper. I think Amari Cooper ends up smashing his ADP more times than not with expectations that we have from him. We always have him low in rankings, but I'm gonna give him the respect that he deserves, man, because I think Deshaun Watson should be able to step forward, bring it together, and hopefully he stays healthy. But they got Jameis Winston on board, so they should be good as the backup. So more so finishing up the tier 3s to finish it up. Terry McLaurin, and then Nico Collins as the 24th wide receiver in my top 24 wide receiver rankings. Now, a little bit on Terry McLaurin. I think this offense is going to be way more explosive than we've seen in past seasons from the Commanders. Create a lot more scoring opportunities. Terry McLaurin has always been a huge, talented wide receiver that just needed a quarterback, and now he has one where I think that Jaden Daniels opens up that playbook. It creates a lot more opportunities to find, Terry McLaurin in the red zone so we can get some touchdowns at him. Because 4 touchdowns, man, last season, that's not going to do it, man. He didn't even lead the team. He was tied with other players on his team, which is disgusting. But I really feel as though, Terry McLaurin's always a quarterback away. So I think he makes inside the top 25 where he could be a reliable wide receiver too, where you can even pair him up. And I've seen a lot of drafts where he's fallen down a little bit to the late of the 3rd round. But I'm going to take that shot on him, man, as my wide receiver 2 or my wide receiver 3, however I go about the draft. But more so, this is what it's looking like for your boy when it comes to tier 1, 2, and 3, the top 24 wide receivers. I think I've broken down pretty much everywhere for the main players that have some type of juiciness going into this next season with some type of storyline. Let me know if you guys are feeling this top 24. Am I missing some people? I know some people are going to be like, where's George Pickens? I really feel as though he's going to be a top 25 wide receiver. I mean, I'm looking at my rankings now. Where's DJ Moore? I mean, DJ Moore's around there. Where's T. Higgins? Where's Lad McConkey? I mean, Lad McConkey might be a top 30, a top 35. I mean, looking at my rankings, are not completely finished, but top 24, this is what I got for you guys, and hopefully you got some great information from this video. And please make sure you guys like and subscribe, and please head to the website, sign up today to the rotoballer.com, sign up, get a subscription, use promo code FIRE, FIRE, to get 10% off on your subscription. So please make sure you guys leave a comment below what you guys think about the episode, and I'll catch you guys next week. Peace.